There have always been great sci-fi games, but in the last 15 years, we've gone from wondering what it would be like to be able to play the kind of grand sci-fi adventures we've seen in movies, TV shows, and books, to actually playing things that now can't be replicated in any other medium. Whether they're taking us to the furthest reaches of outer space, or offering us a peek at a not too distant future, gaming's greatest sci-fi adventures allow us to control experiences that could previously only be witnessed. We've asked a panel of Den of Geek editors, contributors, as well as our own readers to vote for the best sci-fi games of the past 15 years. This 15th anniversary video series is powered by our partners at Plex. Star Wars Jedi: Fallen Order. Just when all seemed lost for Star Wars game fans nostalgic for the days of the Jedi Knight and Knights of the Old Republic series, a new hope arrived courtesy of Respawn Entertainment. Jedi: Fallen Order is not only a love letter to the bygone days of LucasArts single-player action-adventure titles and RPGs, it's a masterclass in modern game design. The story is also well told. In fact, it's one of the best Star Wars adventures of the Disney era. It not only digs deep into Jedi lore only hinted at in the movies, but also shows us what life is like under the ruthless grip of the Empire. The laser bolts start flying and don't let up until the very end of this action-packed romp through space. Dead Space. Even after Resident Evil 4 turned out to be a blockbuster that some at the time called the greatest game ever made, other horror gaming fans continue to doubt that an action game could ever be as scary as a slow-burn survival horror title. Dead Space's all-time great sound design, minimalist HUD, and scary monsters all contribute to the one aspect that often defines the best sci-fi horror, the feeling that you're alone in a hostile environment where death feels as inescapable as the vacuum of space. Even the game's makeshift weapons sell the idea that you are just an average person stuck in a nightmare beyond understanding. No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky had a notoriously rocky launch, but after years of extensive updates, it's finally the sci-fi game of our dreams. You have an entire galaxy to explore, and thanks to the game's impressive procedural generation, it's impossible to say exactly what each new planet will look like or what creatures might call it home until you land on it. This adventure game puts you in the driver's seat of your own sci-fi odyssey to write the story you want. Maybe you journey to the center of the galaxy. Maybe you just hang out in a backwater solar system cataloging the local fauna. Anything and everything is possible in this massive sandbox. Halo 3. As the culmination of Bungie's military science fiction trilogy, Halo 3 further refines the guns, melee, and grenades formula that brought the first two installments so much success, all while also dishing a story that brings an empire of flesh-hungry parasites into focus. But there's also a much more intimate story waiting for players in this saga of galactic warfare, as Master Chief reckons with the loss of Cortana after leaving her behind in enemy territory. The reunion is absolutely riveting and leads to a fantastic third act on a space station creating space station capable of wiping out all sentient life in the galaxy. Halo 3 is 10 hours of no-holds-barred sci-fi action. Doom Eternal. The granddaddy of first-person shooters still feels as relevant as ever with its most recent release. As more FPS titles embrace slower and more methodical gameplay, Doom Eternal plays more like a frantic rhythm game, demanding constant movement and alternating between guns, melee, and even a freaking flamethrower in a non-stop ballet of beautiful, gory, demonic carnage. And while Doom isn't usually considered one of the great sci-fi stories in gaming, Eternal delves deep into the series' lore, with some unique twists on its own versions of heaven, hell, and the cybernetic monstrosities that dwell there. Alien Isolation. There have been many Alien games over the years, and frankly, most of them aren't very good. Even the better ones tend to stray pretty far from the source material. But the genius of Alien Isolation is just how close it sticks to Ridley Scott's original cinematic masterpiece. While you do have some weapons at your disposal, stealth and evasion are ultimately the only ways to see isolation to its end. This is a tense, claustrophobic, and downright terrifying experience that expertly illustrates that not everything in the far reaches of space will be happy to see humans as we venture into the stars. Nier Automata. The first Nier game was a subversive masterpiece that, for all its fantasy trappings, was actually a stealth sci-fi story, and Nier Automata blindsides audiences just as effectively. The game starts with an almost cliched story of combat androids defending the last human survivors against invading alien robots, But as the game progresses, the narrative throws unexpected twists that make audiences question everything they've experienced so far. Nier Automata tackles philosophical themes synonymous with artificial intelligence, such as purpose, existentialism, and the value of life. The end result is an experience that earns a place among other robot-themed greats. Also, each New Game Plus playthrough introduces new insights and spins on Nier Automata's themes and overarching narrative, so players are encouraged to keep coming back for more. Death Stranding. There's tranquility and turmoil to be found in Death Stranding. It's not action-packed, and it's not necessarily all that thrilling to play, but it recalibrates our expectations as gamers, forcing us to appreciate the simple act of land traversal in a way that no game ever has before. You walk, you sway, you stumble, you freeze. This is the genius of Hideo Kojima. He dares to frustrate players and even risk boring them, all in the name of creating a strange, gnarled, unconventional experience you won't find anywhere else. The story seems to paint a bleak portrait of the future at first, but by the time Sam's journey is complete, it's revealed to, in truth, be a tale of hope, an ode to the power of love and empathy. Dead Space 2. The original Dead Space delivered a terrifying experience that combined the isolation and claustrophobia of Ridley Scott's Alien and John Carpenter's The Thing with the zombie genre, and Dead Space 2 expands on that brilliance. Like in the first game, Dead Space 2 weaponizes lighting and sound design to keep players on edge. Even though controls are more fluid and responsive, nowhere in the game's sprawling space station feels safe, especially since the game's enemies can pop out of any air vent. Horizon Zero Dawn. If you were to travel back in time to the 90s and show Horizon Zero Dawn to a bunch of kids, their freaking brains would melt! It's just so cool. You explore a post-apocalyptic world, do battle with what are essentially robot dinosaurs, hack into their systems, ride them around to your heart's content, and blow a bunch of stuff up with deadly tech arrows along the way. It's difficult to overstate how imaginative, colorful, and fun to explore Horizon's game world is. And this is supremely impressive considering Guerrilla Games had never made an open-world game before. They didn't skimp on the storytelling either. Uncovering the truths behind the apocalypse and the people who caused it makes the campaign riveting from beginning to end, and the story says something profound about modern society and our disconnect from nature. The Last of Us. Like horror or fantasy, sci-fi works best as a genre when it says something profound about the human condition. The Last of Us takes a sci-fi premise and uses it to unearth the humanity and inhumanity of its characters in beautiful, twisted ways. An outbreak of a cordyceps fungus turning the country into a veritable hellhole crawling with moaning monstrosities is intriguing enough on its own. But Naughty Dog chose to delve deeper, examining the characters' psyches and behaviors with a level of intimacy that no video game had ever done before. Each kill means something, because these aren't just monsters who emerge from hell. This is the level of nuance and sophistication that has put The Last of Us at the top of countless best-of lists over the years. Fallout New Vegas. While Fallout 3 did an incredible job of proving that the cult classic PC gaming franchise was more than ready to become a blockbuster open-world series, it's hard not to look back and see that game as the title that paved the way for Obsidian Entertainment to show everyone all the things that make Fallout special. Fallout New Vegas has this way of making you feel like the choices you make are the absolute best way to experience this morally ambiguous adventure, where right and wrong are often less important than what feels right to you in the moment. There's a great quest around every corner in New Vegas, and it's up to you to summon the courage often needed to face it. Portal 2. Portal was a tough act to follow. It was ingeniously designed, with gameplay mechanics that were as fun as they were clever, and an inimitable aesthetic and a morbid sense of humor. But by some miracle, Valve managed to outdo themselves, evolving the physics-based portal gun puzzles from the first game. The gameplay is immaculate on its own, but the story is what completely shatters and subverts players' expectations, and makes the game a true classic. The solo campaign is as essential to play as any other on this list, and on top of all that, the two-player co-op mode is just as wonderful, but also cuter. BioShock. While the title is also a very polished horror shooter, BioShock's main draw is its unique aquatic failed utopia seemingly ripped out of a pulp science fiction novel. The game's story isn't just an A to B plot, but a tapestry of political messages, audio logs, and environmental storytelling that weaves together a world as believable as it is fantastic. Each piece of backstory ties into the ongoing plot and game mechanics, and also links to the overarching message that asks what happens when ideals and reality butt heads. Admittedly, BioShock's themes and story might feel a little heavy-handed in a contemporary setting, but the game maintains a sense of poignancy thanks to its sci-fi world, as well as a plot twist that tears down the interactive medium of video games and its tropes. Mass Effect 2. The best installment in one of the best sci-fi series of all time, Mass Effect 2 took the lessons it learned from the first game and became a sequel that was better in almost every single way. Commander Shepard faces an early defeat that thrusts our hero into much darker corners of space than ever before. A mysterious alien faction seeks to enslave and eradicate humanity once again, and it's up to the crew of the Normandy and their shady new benefactor to stop the destruction of all mankind. BioWare delivers an epic storyline for the game's heroes, to be sure, but it's actually the intimate moments between Shepard and the rest of his team of soldiers and rogues that truly make this game special. It's a choice-based RPG experience that's still very hard to beat so many years later. Do you agree with our list? Did your favorite sci-fi game make the cut? Let us know in the comments.